So welcome again for those still arriving to Padmasambhava Day at the North London Buddhist Centre. Padmasambhava was a great Buddhist teacher. He was born probably in the Swat Valley in what is now Pakistan, but he's most famous for his trip to Tibet. And he was invited to Tibet in the 8th century, in the very, very early days of Buddhism there, to help to establish Buddhism in Tibet. And he's known as a tantric guru. In other words, he's a teacher, a guru, from the tantric, the Vajrayana tradition of Buddhism, the third great vehicle of Buddhism, which is dominant in all the Tibetan schools of Buddhism and also in some East Asian schools as well. And what does that mean to say he's a tantric teacher? In brief, it means that his activity is the activity of transformation of energy. It's recognizing the energies that we have, the energies of awareness, the energies of breaking through obstacles, of dealing with difficulties, the energies of inspiration, the energies of creativity, of making something of your life, of affecting the world. And of course, energies themselves can be used in all sorts of ways. The energy of nuclear power can be used for bombs. It can also be used to generate electricity. And the same is true with human energies. So what Padmasambhava learnt how to do, first for himself and then for others, was how to transform destructive energies into constructive energies, to transform obstructive energies into freely flowing energies. And that's why he was invited to Tibet. I won't give you the story in detail. I'm sure Dharma Mega in the talk this afternoon will go into more detail about him. But the king of Tibet had become a Buddhist, but Buddhism was in its very, very germinal form there. And it was receiving a lot of local opposition from people that felt that this foreign import was not sufficiently Tibetan, but also, according to the legends, from the spirits of Tibet, the spirits of the mountains and of the rivers, of the rocks and of the valleys. And these spirits felt that they wanted to oppose these foreign teachings coming in. So when the king tried to build a great temple and monastery at Samye, the builders would beaver away all day building the walls, but when they came back the next morning after taking the night off, everything had gone. The local spirits had dismantled it all. At least that's what the story was. Maybe somebody else sneaked in and dismantled it all, I don't know. And so the abbot of this monastery, or the Indian monk who'd been invited in to supervise it, said, I can't cope with this. This is too much for me. Only Padmasambhava can cope with this. You must invite him. And so eventually Padmasambhava arrived. And what his duty was, you could say, was to subdue the spirits, to subdue the demons. And this means recognizing and being aware of the energies that they represent, realizing that they're not bad, they're not evil energies, but they're simply energies which at the moment are not in harmony with Dharma practice, with cultivating mindfulness and love. And so he needed to subdue them and even convert them to that path. And we could say a lot about this. And again, listen to Dharma Mega later on today. I'm sure she'll explain it. But one way in which he dealt with the demons was to use a demon dagger, which is called a purba or a kila. And the demon dagger is used to pin down the demons or to pin down the spirits. Now, the imagery of Tantric Buddhism is to do with the transformation of energy. And our strongest destructive energies are, yes, the energies of sometimes of craving and passion, which can make us very, very attached, very unfree, but also even more strongly, perhaps, the energies of fury and anger and hatred. And so this means that Tantric Buddhism often uses the language of desire and passion, and also the language of fury and violence in order to describe its practices. But we have to remember that this is meant in a symbolic way. So Padmasambhava, using the demon dagger on the spirits, has a symbolic meaning. He would pin them down, and then he would look at them, and there would be a sort of a battle of will between the spirit and Padmasambhava, between, let's say, the negative emotion and the positive emotion of Padmasambhava. And eventually, through that process, Padmasambhava would become the conqueror, and the spirit would say, okay, you win, I give in. And then what Padmasambhava would do would be to discover the secret name of the spirit, the bija, as it was called, of the spirit. They're also sometimes known as the heart vitality of the spirit, but the word is bija in Sanskrit, which means a syllable. And this syllable would be the true name of the spirit. And with that, Padmasambhava could then tell the spirit, I would like you to stay here. You're very, very welcome, but you've got a new job. And your new job is to protect Dharma practice, to protect Dharma teachings, to protect places where the Dharma is practiced, and so on. So I thought we could do this in our meditation today. We could get out our purba, and we could just look at whatever arises in the meditation. I don't want us to create any spirits or demons in the meditation. There's no need for that. But in a small way, probably most of us find that when we try to meditate, something becomes an obstacle. Something seems to get in the way of us settling our minds, of us generating our positive mental state. It becomes something that is disturbing, something that is distracting. So rather than just trying to ignore it, trying to suppress it, trying to sit on it or anything like that, what we do is we look at it in this particular practice. I'm not saying this works for everybody, but this is the purba method of doing the practice. So you need to pin it down. And what do you pin it down with? You pin it down with your mindfulness. So you keep fully aware, particularly of the sensations in your body. And you realize that when whatever emotion arises, and there's always an emotion behind the distraction may seem to be a thought, but there's always an emotion behind it. Whatever emotion arises has its manifestations in the body. There's been a very interesting recent book coming out on emotions, looking at emotions from a scientific point of view and breaking them down in essence to either pleasant or unpleasant feelings on the one hand, and either arousal or lack of arousal on the other hand. So for example, if we have a highly aroused, unpleasant feeling, we'll tend to have a sense of anger or irritation. If on the other hand, we have a very unaroused, unpleasant feeling, it's probably more like depression, listlessness, and so on. Now, this is probably very oversimplified. There's a lot more going on, but it's quite an interesting thing to look at, just to say, rather than believing all the stories I'm telling myself, I'm just going to pin this current mental state down, and I'm going to gaze at it. And I'm going to gaze at it and just notice, is this pleasant? Is it unpleasant? Where in the body is that pleasant or unpleasant sensation? Is it aroused? Is it energetic? Or is it listless? Is it unenergetic? Is it unaroused? And where in the body can I feel that arousal? And by just looking at it, you'll find you know its secret name. And that name is not necessarily a word, it's just simply a knowing, an awareness of it. So I don't know if that makes any sense to you. We're going to do some meditation anyway. You can do your usual kind of meditation if you want to. But what we are going to do is a fairly lengthy period of just sitting. And this is the central practice that is done in these Tibetan forms of meditation, or many other practices, including mindfulness of breathing and cultivation of love. But today we're going to do a practice of just sitting, which is the open awareness of whatever arises. Now, it may be that you're not sufficiently settled, sufficiently concentrated to literally do nothing. It may be that you need the breath or you need a sense of contacting your own positive emotion or something like that as a way into a meditation. So that's absolutely fine. So you can do that in your own way and in your own time. Particularly the breath as an anchor and bodily sensations as an anchor are very useful when you're doing just sitting meditation. I may say a few things during the meditation if anything occurs to me, but there's no right or wrong way of doing it. But what I'd ask you is to always come back mindfully to the flow of your current experience. And if it feels like it's something that's taking you away, then pin it down with your mindfulness and gaze at it and see if you learn its secret name, its bija. Okay. Bernadette, does everything look all right online? Good. So if anyone joined us during that little spiel about Padmasambhava and about doing some just sitting meditation, welcome to Padmasambhava Day at North London Buddhist Centre. So this session of just sitting will be about 40 minutes long, or maybe slightly longer. I may ring a bell occasionally in the sit, just to bring you back in case you wandered off. But if you hear 3 bells, that means that's the end of the meditation. And those of you who live locally, some of us are going to go out onto Highbury Fields at 1 o'clock to have a sandwich. If you do want to join us there, you're welcome to do that, but do remember social distancing and do remember not to be in groups of more than 6 out there. Just sitting meditation. As you sit in awareness, whatever arises is a step on the path. Nothing is unwelcome. What arises is tinged with fear, with irritation, with longing, with a low mood. Then just gaze at it with your whole being. Find it in the body. Stay with the experience in its raw state. whatever arises is welcomed. If it takes you away from the flow of your experience, then hold it in your gaze with the whole of your body. Allow it to self-liberate like a cloud that evaporates into the blue sky. It's allowing the brightness of awareness to shine and illuminate the whole flow of our experience, but not trying to do anything, to achieve anything, to go anywhere. And before we finish this session, I'm going to give you a reading, a teaching from Padmasambhava. Padmasambhava's chief disciple in Tibet, herself an enlightened teacher, was Yeshe Tyogyal. And one of the great services that she performed was to write Padmasambhava's biography, known as The Life and Liberation of Padmasambhava, but also record many of his teachings, which have come down to us in Advice from the Lotus Born here, Darkini teachings. And I've got a little pile of other Padmasambhava books here as well. But this is from Advice to the Lotus Born. Padmasambhava means the lotus born. And this is what he said in a question and answer session with Yeshe Sogyal. You begin to realize that all of samsara and nirvana is non-dual, beyond arising and ceasing, unmixed and utterly perfect, locationless and self-known. Your obscuration totally vanishes, and the very moment everything dawns as original wakefulness is the path of consummation, the state of Buddhahood. Sogyal asked, "Please pay heed, great master. This is the innate nature of things, but how should one behave until attaining that stability?" Padmasambhava replied, "Listen, Sogyal. Conduct is very important because much of life is spelt in daily activities. You may have intellectually understood a high view, but unless you act in accordance with its meaning, you stray from the path. You may have gained an excellent state of meditation, but unless you sustain it during your activities, it will fade away. Understand, therefore, the vital point of cause and effect. Avoid evil deeds, perform even the most minute virtuous actions. And this is the correct path, the essence of the Buddha's teachings, the crucial point of knowledge. If having obtained a human body, you want to practice the sacred Dharma correctly, don't let your body, speech, and mind stray into ordinariness, even for an instant. During daytime practice, leave your consciousness unfabricated. Let the six senses experience freely, like a dream or an illusion. At night, mingle deep sleep with reality in a non-conceptual state, free from projecting or dissolving thoughts. Train in love, compassion, and bodhicitta, and in growing familiar with the stages of meditation. Morning and evening, perform the sevenfold puja with offerings and so forth. Confess your misdeeds with the 100-syllable Vajrasattva mantra. Be careful about the vital point of cause and effect. Reflect upon the difficulty of obtaining the freedoms and the riches of this precious opportunity. Reflect upon death and impermanence. Reflect upon the defects of samsara. Train in bodhicitta, the compassionate bodhi mind. When you perceive that all beings have given to you as your parents did, you have given rise to the path through training your mind in bodhicitta. In order to cut through ego clinging and to cut away your belief in demons, go to a frightening place, camp in the most dreadful spot, and begin with taking refuge in the three jewels, developing bodhicitta, and supplicating your teacher. Then, for a long time, earnestly cultivate immeasurable love, compassion, and bodhicitta for all sentient beings. Then, rest in equanimity.